Well,
Okay, great. Great. Then I'll be giving you this hat at the debate.
wait, me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he
Oh.
then I
talking to
got
you.
Oh. Wait, sorry. I was like focused on my things. I don't think I was recording my audio. I was
and
recording
then
your guys' audio.
Yeah.
I got this one
That's
right
good.
here.
Oh,
I got this one right here from my man Boyce, right?
yeah. That's
Mm,
nice. I'm not a trucker, but that's
nice.
because I love, like truckers. Woo! Like I love that. Okay,
Right?
recording,
And then I,
guys.
I
How you doing?
and then I got this one, right?
Yeah.
For Sola. I'm not gonna put it on because shout out to Sola. I know she's a germaphobe.
You would like Sola if you met her, Gerald.
Oh, I love Sola.
Yeah.
She's like the best person on the planet.
Okay, so now we
Okay.
got the thank you for perhaps giving me that hat, Fred. That's very nice of you. I can't wait to see you. But yes. So oh bless you.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm
no,
sorry,
you're
guys.
good. But yeah, no, totally for seeing this. We have when you come to Delaware, you got a freaking hat for free. Bam. But yeah, so okay,
Shout out to Tully.
he's the best. So
Right.
we're gonna start this now. So thank God Fred's audio sounds like it's a bit better. I'm here with Fred the Felon, Gerald, Jay Giddens the father, yeah.
Yeah, Jay Giddens, yeah.
That's an awesome name. Yeah, I just wanted to talk with you guys. And really the topic at hand is gonna be like our loneliness crisis in general. Not even just in America, but I feel like in like this in this like new age of like humans and like technological growth, I feel like a lot of people have like kind of don't really know what to do with themselves and like kind of are like lost and lonely in their own like isolated world. And then we can even relate that back to specifically men, and then relate that back to specifically the Black community. So those are the three main things I wanted to touch upon. But before we get into that, Gerald, let's just talk about like who you are and what's your hobbies, your interests, and of course, how did you get into Andrew Yang?
Well, yeah, again, my name is Jay Giddens the father. That's my first initial last name, which is Gerald Giddens. That's where that came from. I joined the Yang Gang because of the Humanity First slogan, and I guess most of the, interest surrounding what I try to put out in terms of my content is its reference to the way the Black community itself, I feel, can benefit from, the Yang Gang and just my experience and my perspective that I bring when I, accept what is Yang Gang, what it is to us. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm here just pretty much to try to honestly, it's kind of like a bunch of different goals all wrapped in one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you obviously wanting to better the Black perspective that people, the perspective that people on the outside have of Black people. Because I always mention the fact that I've heard like you might hear white people say certain white people say, that's just what they do when they're talking about Black people in terms of
Mm,
them, robbing someone or robbing a
yeah.
7-Eleven or something. If a Black guy does that, they're like, oh, well, that's just what Black people do. And it's like, I just think that's,
Yeah.
it's not true, one, and two, there's so many things that we're not aware of in terms of what are causing these things. And I think placing humanity first would help resolve that. You know what I mean? Just with certain policies that Andrew Yang has, even the marijuana one and the freedom dividend are the two biggest ones because those are the methods that are used to incarcerate, um, they have been used for that purpose throughout history. It's been, kind of proven. So that's what really motivates me to want to, join the Yang Gang and just sort of invigorate everybody. I don't even really know what I would say my purpose particularly is, but to exist and try to exist to the best of what that's ability is. You know what I mean?
No,
So like I
yeah.
just, try to like, you know,
That's perfect. Yeah, just like give your perspective. Honestly, I think that as a people we kind of emphasize like working hard and like what do you do for work, but we kind of lost like
right.
actually being, yeah, like you said, like just being a person, just chilling out, talking with people, Like I get
Right.
that
Exactly.
even yeah, like I feel like a lot of people, especially younger and younger, we feel like oh we have to be doing something. Like oh if I'm hanging out with somebody, like we have to go to the skate to like the skate park, we have to go to the mall, we have to go this and this to feel like we're doing something. But for me personally, I just like to talk and like eat, you know, like let's like go somewhere, eat, chill, and talk. So that's why I love that, you know, we can just do that, and especially in the Yang and we understand that, you know, we just like actually in like intrinsic value and just talking to one another and getting that understanding in our own lives. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Fred, I mean, like, most people know who you are and like they know what you're about. But what do you think of like the kind of loneliness crisis that may be attacking a lot of people and especially men? Like, do you think that that's even a thing, or you know, how does that relate to Yang in that case?
Well, as far as Yang Gang goes, like it relates to Yang Gang because Andrew Yang is like one of the only people that's even talking about it. Research, I like he says if you go, and he likes to say by the numbers, right?
Mm,
There's a recent study that said 30% of the males are sexually active with 80% of the females,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so,
Well,
a,
a lot
I can
going
see
on there.
that though. Yeah, I can see that like alpha males types are like so dominant, and it's like you know we don't like. Yeah, I can see that. Anyways, continue.
no, go ahead. You were about to expound on that. Go ahead.
Well, this is why I think I don't like. I think that we it starts like younger. I think a lot of younger boys like we don't accept like different types of boys. Like we don't see like the value in like boys that act differently. And I think we only like think that okay, one type of guy is like the cool guy or the valuable guy. So that guy gets a lot of attention and a lot of accolades and a lot of respect. So then other types of guys, they feel like they don't build the sense of like confidence or self-esteem. So that can definitely affect how they interact with other people and especially with other males or females, whoever they prefer. And I can see why, you know, that it's just like a constant cycle of like, okay, I'm just gonna just retreat back into my own world and do my own thing. You know, you can typical like I'm not saying I love gamers, but typically guys kind of you know go to like gaming as a way of like connecting, like feeling that self worth, that or you know going you know like clubbing, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. And then like the guys that like are considered cool and valuable and like strong, they like go out and are pretty you know quote unquote successful in whatever way you think. But
I think one of the things that I think that I kind of got into gaming as a kid and then I left it because of sports took over, right?
yeah.
But one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I see now, right, is gaming gives you a way to connect with people intellectually,
Hmm.
but stay kind of, you know, like kind of like pushed back emotionally. Like you can game you
Internally.
can yeah, and it's the same thing with like online dating and like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
especially if you've never met somebody, like you can have an argument on Twitter and that the argument that you're having on Twitter or on Facebook, there's not a person on the other side of that. There's only a position on the other side of that. You,
Oh, that's a good
you know what I mean?
way.
So
Yeah.
there's
So,
the emotion, like, or you can get what you need as far as like connecting with another human being intellectually, but not have to give anything emotionally. And you see it all the time. Like I see girls on when I used to be on Facebook, more on Twitter now, but when I was on Facebook, uh, I have all these real estate people that I am friends with, and
mhm.
loan officer people, and they would say, "Oh, I was supposed to meet up with this guy today, and then he just totally ghosted me," or "I was supposed to meet up with this girl, and she totally ghosted me," right? And a
Yeah.
lot of that comes, I think, a lot of that comes from people just want somebody to talk to, but when it comes to, hey, I've got to emotionally connect with somebody, they freeze up and cheese up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, honestly,
Freeze up
that
and
does
cheat.
happen. That that does happen a lot, I think. And I don't even got me being like a 21-year-old. I actually don't go out and date often. I just like again like I can only imagine like being a guy because for me, I'm just like I don't feel like going through the effort of like having to date and go out and do stuff because I just know people like I just yeah, it just like creeps me out. I don't know, like something about it. Like I would love to have that relationship, but I'm just so used to like doing things on my own and like doing my own thing. So I don't want like anybody to interrupt that. And that's just such a maybe it's like a youth thing. Maybe that's like just like this like new age of like females that like want to be more independent or whatever. But like it's not a good thing. I don't like that. So that's why like I'm really that's why like I really push for Yang because I feel like he's really like getting to the root of the problem and like listen we really aren't valuing people just by being people we really are just like trained to think that we're all like capital machines and we the only worth is like when we're making money you know and that's been like in like kind of like like brainwashed in our minds and there's just more to us than that you know yeah but I
So
think
understandable.
it's slowly changing I mean and
Yeah.
where did you, Gerald? Where did you grow up? You said like where were you born and where do you grow up now or you live now?
Well, Baltimore. I was born and raised in Baltimore, so
Got it.
that's only location that I've ever. I mean, I lived in Colorado Springs for like 4 months,
How
but
did you like it?
it was the complete opposite. Like the ground was so clean you could eat off of it. Like I was so amazed by how clean things were in Colorado Springs. It's just not something you see back at home. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Baltimore, Maryland, 80s baby. So, born in that era. So my take on my
Yeah.
perspective on loneliness, as it affects people would probably be a little bit different from, that of someone who's in a different generation, you know what I mean? Just because I view it a little bit differently. Um, you know, I,
Yeah.
I, I view it in a way of like, I do agree that people are just more lonely, and I think it's because of the way society beats you down and treats you. Like when you say men, feeling maybe self-conscious about whether or not they are a man and such. It's more so, I don't know really how to say it.
No, that's good.
That there are sort of like goals that are set up for you mentally when you
Hmm.
face everyday life. So like music and all the things that you're involved in throughout your life have influences in them, and these influences will shape the way you view, um, or the way your perspective
Yeah.
is of things. And it'll make you start to like question yourself and whether or not you are valuable because of the fact that you can't accomplish what you're trying to, what you think is what you should be attaining. With a lot of the people that are affected by this, is things like gold chains or like you know having the flyest cars or having a couple $1,000s in your pocket, when the people around them
Yeah.
are suffering emotionally, which is causing more issues when they go about their days. It's just
Hmm.
a snowball effect, if you will, but times a billion. You know what I mean?
No,
So
that's
we
a
all
good
just gotta
point.
kind of understand.
That's one of the things that I loved about your video reminiscence of oppression, which I'll link in the description below. But yeah, you're talking about art and how big of a role that does play in and like how and people's emotions and mentality. Like, it just blows my mind why our education system just devalues art and like every chance they get, like if you're gonna cut something, it's like our art programs. It's like psycho. It's like
Hmm.
I was just watching or listening to the Alyssa Milano and Andrew Yang podcast episode. I'm like almost done. And she actually
Hmm.
mentions that the second biggest export in America, money wise, is art. The first is agriculture, and the second is our art or music. I honestly didn't
Hmm.
know that, but if you reflect on it, I mean, art is so important to just like being a human, And the fact that our
Right.
market values it at zero, it's just like ludicrous because we know that like, everybody listens to music almost every day. Most people watch just like TV or movies, and all of these stuff, all of these things have like either very surface level messages or very like messages undertoned, and all of that really
Right.
does make a difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think growing up for me, I grew up in like a white community pretty much. However, I did have like family members that were black, so I always had this weird like, okay, like I'm trying to get into like hip hop and like all these like stuff and the cool dances and all that, but I don't really like any of the music. But I'm more so like the pop and the punk rock and like Paramore and Evanescence, like the white music, I guess you can say.
I love Paramore.
Dude, Paramore's the fucking shit, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and of course I love some R&B too. Like I like Rihanna or whatever, but
Rihanna, whatever.
I mean,
Dude,
not anymore. Now,
Evanescence.
Evan,
Evanescence is so much pain
yeah,
that is just coming across, but both in Paramore too. But just
oh, Amy
so much
Lee
pain.
she's my queen. Like Amy Lee is like the best. Yeah, like, and I relate to that a lot, like that, like emo, like kind of like edgy grittiness.
What I think is interesting
Yeah.
is you're 32 and you're 21 and I'm 42, so it's basically like 10.
Oh.
We got like
Generations.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so I think like for me, there was so much pain and suffering in the GNR album, right? When I was a kid, the Pearl Jam album when I was a kid. So I grew up, like, me and Andrew Yang are around the same age, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about this. We talked about me growing up in an all-black community, coming from a white community, and like having a mullet and like a chain wallet and like Wranglers and a freaking like Guns N' Roses t-shirt with like all black kids and like having only like 4 or 5 friends, and like my friends were down. Like my friends were super deep. They were down ASF, like for real, because
Right.
they actually had to take a beating to even be my friend. You know what I mean?
That's true. It's like
Mm.
if they're there,
So-
they really
man.
want to be there.
So I had
Right.
very few friends, and I got really good at like confrontation, right?
Mm.
Like as soon as somebody either looked at me or said something, I would just say, like, let's get it over with right now. I know you had something to say, right? Like I would just jump on them before they would jump on me,
Yeah.
and that's like one of the things that I appreciate what in your video about oppression, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
how people I notice people react instead of respond. And I've done, I try to watch myself, and I'm terrible at it. A lot of times I will react rather than respond, because to react
Mhm.
is emotional and to respond is
Logical.
more here, right? And one of the theories that I have about Andrew Yang and about us losing like 13 to 15 points when we can't pay our bills
Yeah.
is we automatically go into survival mode,
Yeah.
and we start because we're animals first, we're humans second.
Yeah.
So I feel like we start going into survival mode, and then we start relying on instincts rather than solid thought, right?
Yeah.
And how this plays off for men is, like for example, does anybody have a girlfriend or a woman in their life where the woman, everybody around that woman is saying, why is she with him, right?
Mm.
I'm sure we've all seen that, right?
I've seen it. I wasn't that person.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
if you put everything down on paper, there would be no reason why she would be with him. But
Right.
the animal instinct, and this happens, I see this happen to women a lot because when he talks about a mindset of scarcity, what comes in a mindset of scarcity is insecurity. So when you have a male that gives you both financial security and protection, where like everybody in life is beating you down except this one person. This one person
Right.
is like,
Hopeless.
this is my person,
Yeah.
and I will defend this person, and I don't care who says what. If you mess with this person, I'll break your neck. Right?
Yeah, that's true. I get it.
And that actually speaks to, that doesn't speak to every woman, right?
Yeah.
But there is, especially I think when women when they're in a mindset of scarcity, they make decisions in terms of mates based off of instinct rather than like their solid mind. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
That does make sense. Yeah.
And what the freedom dividend will do is give women freedom to like take a job that they want, not that they have to. I mean, he even says it. He even says it. Hey, somewhere right now, there's a woman being like harassed by her boss, or or wants to take care of her kids, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my god! When I heard Yang say that, and I think he said all this in the Joe Rogan podcast, which I hate to say, like, mention that every time.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
But it really is like the quintessential like moment, because when he dropped that bomb in that interview, I was like, oh my god, he's so right. And it was like all the pieces of like the life puzzle was like forming in my mind. I'm like, oh my god, I see it now. Like, this is why we need to do this, because
Right.
yeah, like, not, oh my god, so many females, like, yeah, they do, because females tend to have interests that lie in like, the parenthood side, like the caretaker side, or the art side, which again, our market usually values that stuff at zero typically, unless you're like really popular or you're really well known.
Did you just see he tweeted about that today?
Shit, he did? Damn, I didn't know.
He's-
It's super.
He said, according to our market, being a mentor, artist, sports, or no, not sports, but he named all these things that like the market doesn't value. And I retweeted it, and I was like, yeah, if you can imagine how much money I've actually lost.
I know.
trying to be a mentor.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
It does kind of piss you off too. It's like, dang, like, not only do we deserve the UBI, the freedom dividend, we actually really are owed a lot of money too, but we're gonna let it go for the time being. But I get so pissed at people that are like, oh, like, what they'll say in one sentence, like, why does like this person, need the money? Why does this rich person need the money? Why does this poor person need the money? And then they'll say, well, it's not enough for, like, people to live off of. I'm like, you guys are totally missing the point. Like, you guys, the point of it is to at least have a foundation for people to do what they want to do with their lives. Because right now, we're just strongholding people into, like, working for the man. And it's like, that's become, like, the status quo, which we should question that. It's like, why should we work for the man? Like, it's kind of just dumb at this point. People know what to do with their own lives, and I think that's what it really comes down to. Is like trusting other people.
Can I ask both of you a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from the white perspective, or from the 40 over perspective, white American, right? That I feel like the white working class has been completely ignored by the Democrat Party, which Andrew Yang is completely and 100% solving. And I feel like he's one of the few Democrats that is solving that.
Yeah.
Right? how I also feel
Yeah.
that the the Democratic Party has completely and totally ignored the black male vote, and they're running the black vote through the female.
Mm.
How do you
Mm.
feel about
That is so freaking on point.
how do you feel about I have a tons of like here's the thing. This is my thing. What I want to do is I want to win back the white working class back to the Democrat Party,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I want to take that white working class and like hand in hand with black males, Asians, and Indians, right, that are completely being ignored, right?
Dang, yeah.
And hand in hand with the people that the DNC is actually utilizing as props, which is Latinos and Latinas and black females,
Yeah.
right?
It's true, yeah.
I really feel like the DNC is completely and totally not talking. If there's any one group that they're not talking to, it's black males, because they're like, y'all ain't gonna vote anyway, so fuck you. We're gonna run to the females. How do you respond to that?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but
Yeah, go.
yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it's
It's like,
yeah.
No, go ahead.
It's a lot of layers. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
It's a lot of layers. So to me, like my intuition is that you're right. It seems like, and I think Gerald, you talk about this in the Remnants of Oppression, how
Hmm.
the first system is kind of built to prop up black females, and it's kind of designed to like push out black males. And you could say, I mean, listen, I'm not. What you could say is that the establishment, which most often
Yeah,
white establishment, are kind of intimidated by black males because maybe it's like a whole, oh, if that black male's in power, or if that black male has a lot of influence, then that kind of values my influence. That's one thing that you can say. And on the other hand, you're right, the Democratic Party, they're also pushing out white males over 40 especially, and I think that's because it's their way of like having this other side quest of like this moral superiority thing where like, okay, clearly like we don't really care about the black males, but we're gonna have to pretend like we do care about the black community, so let's just focus on the females and say that, oh, we know those white men, like they're kind of bad and they're taking away like your this or that, or this your opportunity here, your this and that, so let's just push them out as well. It's like a weird like they're just talking on like both sides of their mouth type deal.
Sometimes
yeah.
I wonder, like if you can separate the media from the DNC,
Oh no, you
right?
can't. Yeah.
You can't.
I don't think, no, at this point. Well,
Because like the media has one narrative, and then the DNC has maybe another, and I'm hoping that that because like for me, what I see is the DNC is great at bringing in white academia. Like if you've got a master's degree or a doctorate degree,
yeah.
right? Like they speak to you, right?
Yeah. Mm.
But if you're in the hood in St. Louis where I grew up, like the Democrat Party was in power, has been in power for 30 years in Detroit, where you live, Baltimore, and they're not doing crap for black males at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they want to. You know what I mean? I don't think it's really
Yeah.
up for question. I don't think they want to. I think there's lots of reasons behind why they don't want to.
So
And
so could you share those reasons, and could you share why you think Andrew Yang will smash and obliterate any, like, because what I see is just a total renaissance. If Andrew Yang,
Oh my god.
so the,
Oh man, we could talk all about how like the difference, like this is like the turning point between either Mad Max or Star Trek. I love when people would make that comparison, but it's like this is it. Like, like we're gonna go
Yeah.
either one way or another. But yeah, you go ahead, Gerald, and go. What do you think about how the DNC is ignoring
Yeah, I mean,
problems? Yeah.
yeah, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't really, and this is going to sound crazy as much as I talk about this, but I don't really, I would say know or have enough particular insight into that to say it in particular about them
Yeah.
specifically not wanting to. What I would say is I can understand why. And it's really just because of, again, the fact that, I think black males are um, possibly seen as a possible threat. I think that the problem is it's hard to have this conversation without, and I'm trying not to, but without mentioning things like systemic racism, and remnants of
no,
oppression,
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
fine.
You can say
because
whatever you want.
what I mean, well, the thing about it is we just have to, it's like just being real. There's nothing I can say that we don't know. The problem is not knowledge. The problem is, representation and acceptance of responsibility, and just us talking about these things because you know
Yeah.
things have just been really different in this country. Like, and we, sometimes have to take a step back and realize, like, if we go back a couple hundred years ago, we would be slaves. You know what I mean? Like, do we actually understand that we come
Yeah.
from, this is what we've evolved from? Yes, we've
Mm-hmm.
helped some things out, but there were stages in that. There was segregation where we were still separated. And then there were things that, happened to cause division from there. And I think that, without acknowledgement of that, we're really not going to get anywhere with anything because we have to sort of understand where a lot of this is coming from. The DNC may be sort of ingrained in things that may have been more, um, you know, prominent in the previous decades. You see Biden, right? All the situations he has popping up with stuff that he said that he should not have said, right? Because at one point it was okay, like, you know what I mean? And I feel like
Yeah.
we just all have to sort of,
Take responsibility.
yeah, and on top of that, just not be so upset about it, man. Like, I guess the best way I can put it is, like, we have to understand that we are different and it's okay. There are people who were in situations where, their parents were, say racist and they grew up in that environment, but they're not racist, but they have family that is, and they have to choose between those things. And there are people with sensitive situations as to why they have these views. Now, I'm not talking about these, assholes going out here shooting up, stores and shit. Those guys are lunatics. But I mean, your average person, they may have some sort of demon, I guess you would call it, in them that they battle with in terms of race in some way. And it may not even be their own hatred. It may be the hatred of another person they love that they're attached to because of them not having that hatred before they got there. This is one example, but but
Yeah.
again, there's many like that where a person may need to be, we may need to put humanity first above anything else in terms of understanding. And that's, excuse me, that's kind of where I was going a little bit during Padgett's interview when I talked about I'm not going to re-say his name, but there was a situation during her interview where I spoke on something. And,
Mm.
I was more so just trying to help them understand or help the viewers understand that even when a person is against you, you can still sort of make amend and understand where they're coming from sometimes in order to try to help them. Now, I think that you have to understand where your line is because there's obviously a line with that. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
are for rape, like if you are for rape, we're not about to feel things out, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? There's certain lines where you have to kind of just understand, okay, this guy's no. But when some of the even Trump supporters or people who just genuinely have a different perspective because of what they're around. When we look at some of the Trump supporters who are converted, a lot of them seem genuinely unsure about what they're doing. And then a lot of them seem to be held captive almost like, like where they're from, they have to vote for Trump or else. And they just
Mm.
like I gotta do this. It's like them walking down the aisle about to get married to somebody they don't want to, and their parents are there, and it's like one of them type of situations. Like I gotta go for Trump, whatever. So and they're just dying for somebody to kind of save them and help them understand. You know what I mean? And I think that the best way, at least for me, to do that is to display who I am and just put it on display and let it impact them. Because going the way of directly communicating with words, number one, is not going to be proficient in terms of numbers of people to affect to avoid an issue in the country involving race spewing out of control. I'll say that because I want to avoid those two words. But yeah, so I just feel like we need to do more in that realm, to sort of.
So I wanna thank you for opening up because
bless you.
Bless you. In the beginning, when I asked that question, I could tell you were a little bit more on the reserve side, right? Like, could you tell that, Alyssa?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I now that he explained it, I get it now.
Like,
Yeah.
like there was something that you wanted to say, but you were like trying to gather, how do I say this, right? And I want to be honest with whoever's listening to this, whether you be black or white, whether you be straight or gay, whether you be red or blue, whether you be rich or poor, we're never going to get over this tribalism until, first of all, especially race thing, until white people don't fear black people. Because I can tell you from a white male's perspective, of what I see, as somebody that doesn't have fear of other people because was raised around those people in a children's home, in a place that was, and I've been like, I'm never one that says I've seen it all or I've heard it all or been there, done that, because leaders are learners and leaders are readers. But at the same time, I'm pretty comfortable because of the way I was raised and where I was raised and stuff like that. But I'm an outlier, and I could tell you that a lot of the systemic racism that you see, and then the police shootings that you see, even black police shooting black people is,
yeah,
but mostly white police, right? White people a lot of times are just scared of black people for whatever reason, right? Because
right.
I think a lot of it has to do with I think a lot of it has to do with what they see on TV.
Yeah, again, that art, I'm telling you, that, and like you said, Gerald, like their family members, perhaps, it's just like the thing that your family is, they just have this sense of feeling, and it doesn't even have to be like really, it can be kind of subtle, like, especially kids are very like attuned to what's around them, and they can even get a sense of like if somebody's nervous about something, they'll pick it up. It's kind of like a puppy, like they'll pick up whatever you're feeling. That happens a lot too. But you're right, that and then art and just pop culture in general, a lot to do with it. But I love that, like, Gerald, you were like, this is funny because Fred, like, he tends to get really pissed at the establishment, as you can probably tell. I remember in Texas and Houston, he was so pissed watching the debates. He was like, man, fuck these guys. They are trying to suppress Andrew Yang once again.
Oh, they were.
And, and it's like, I get it.
Honestly,
yeah.
Gerald, I was like,
he's about to tear down the place.
I had Alyssa by my side and like 4 other people, and I was telling this one dude, I was like, dude, don't let me get arrested. Please, do not let me get arrested.
Yeah, right? Don't get arrested.
No, it was just, I was saying I wasn't gonna get arrested, but yeah. I was just like, we're in a bar with a bunch of TVs, and like, I'm trying not to
like,
yell at the
elegant.
TV, like,
it was like very like upscale, like Democrat. It's like
it was
it's
stuffy. It was stuffy.
It was so much
and
fun.
And the thing is, The thing is that they had the white collar people on the inside of the bar where it was AC. Did you notice that? Okay, so all the white collar people, didn't matter what color they were either, right? All the white collar people were on the inside, and all the blue collar people were out on the lawn on these lawn chairs. Did you notice that?
No, it was.
I didn't notice.
No, I did.
Well, you weren't there, were
for
you?
the most part, no. I don't think
Right,
I
no, I
was
wasn't there.
But it was.
No, I wasn't there.
It was a nice place, by the way. Like everybody was nice and everything, but
It was very nice.
That in like 60% of the people were Yang Gang, by the way. Like it was like mostly us and like our math and hats and chat. But like how I noticed that is when I had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, where the hell is this bathroom? I'm outside, right? It's like fake grass, like it's not like a lawn. It's like a really nice place with like a bunch of TVs. So I had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, let me go in here. And then when I went in there, I didn't even realize that there was like a whole section watching the debates and on a different side. And I had to like go make this it's like a hallway it's like the walk of shame almost. I'm like walking in front of these people that are like the TV's right above me. I'm like, oh my God, like am I not supposed to be here?
And there was AC. There was AC in there and it was cool. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why am I outside in the heat? And I was just like, oh, my friends are out there.
It wasn't that bad, dude. But it was,
I'm like, my friends are so much more important than staying cool, right? Like literally, right? Because it was in Texas, right?
Yeah.
It was in Texas, and then I was like, when I was there, Gerald, literally, I was telling people, I was like, baby, please, babysit me. Do not let me yell, because don't let me yell at the TV and turn this into a UFC style freaking event where you're like, get him, right?
Yeah, no, because they'll turn that against us and then say the Yang Gang's inciting riots, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even Yang says it himself. He's like, anybody been to one of those charity events or one of those fundraising events where it's all stuffy in there and you're just thinking like, okay, what's the time that's acceptable for me to stay here and then leave?
Yeah. But the good thing is that at the end of the night, he did actually show up there. So it was Julian Castro. Wait, no, Cory Booker. Yeah, Julian Castro, and then Yang. They all came there, and like we had to go inside because they went inside and like they did like a mini like speech type rally thing for like 15 minutes. Like each person got like 15 minutes to talk. It was so funny because everybody was like, oh my God, when the hell is Yang coming? Because like we heard that he was and even though we were so depressed because like he only got like that like 7 minutes of talking time or whatever, like we were still like, so yeah, but we were lit, dude. Like we had a whole bunch of posters and like it was so funny. Like I was carrying all these posters, like different languages and stuff. And it was funny, a lot of people were just like asking, hey, can I have one of those? And they weren't even like Yang Gang, they just like the posters and they just like want to be a part of it because
that's how you know it's authentic.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like this totally makes up for it because when he came, and
that's how you know.
You probably saw the clip of him like dancing to like Return of the Mac and stuff. Like it was just like the best.
Is it me or can Yang Yang can get it in?
Dude, he can. I'm actually really surprised that he can like has a lot legit rhythm in his movement.
Yeah, he's very energetic. He's very into what he's doing, and that's that's why I think he applies so much, into what he does.
Andrew, if you're hearing this, your moves are so incredibly fly, and you got a lot of a lot of swag and great hip action, man. You know what I mean?
Right, hip action, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I digress. But yes, I do appreciate that, Gerald. Like it seems like you have the mindset of, listen, like we should definitely be knowledgeable of our history, but also like have like forgiveness and kind of like learn how to heal from all of this stuff, not just like simmer over the past. I think especially a lot of Black people, I think we tend to do that in general. I think a lot of us are like, oh no, well I was done wrong, or like this and that, and it's like, wait, like you really have to like move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Life is more than than like your past. If you're gonna like, you have to move forward. So I do like that perspective a lot. And I think that's part of the reason why I appreciate Andrew Yang so much, because he does get it. Even though people say that he's like a futurist and stuff, and he'll say that no, I'm a presentist. I think he's like a mix of both, really. I think he's talking about the things that we should have done, like like decades ago. Not just the UI, but a bunch of other stuff like paying teachers more and like dollars, all the stuff. But he's also talking about the future and how we can really like just shake shit up. And like I love that a lot of what Washington DC is just people that just are total like boneheads that don't want to do anything. That's like a mentality that is just like just so messed up. And I think that when we bring this wave crashing down on their heads, they're gonna be blown away. That's what gets me pumped. It's like I kind of like the like the struggle, kind of like me and I love Gary Vaynerchuk, and one of my favorite qualities about Gary Vaynerchuk, he's like, listen, like you have to love the journey, dude. Like the journey of getting Yang to the presidency is gonna be more exciting than him actually doing it, and like it's just gonna be crazy. So that does get me motivated. And
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to know, like you were talking about fathers, and that's something you put a huge emphasis on, right? And you were like, in my community, father, like I didn't grow up with my father, this, that, and the third, right? And so there is an absent father syndrome that is sweeping the nation for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
So I recently said something about 26 out of the 27 recent shooters had issues in that scenario. And so I've said I've talked about the study of single women who raise men versus women, right? So if the woman has something that obviously a lot of times with a single woman, she's got to work 2 and 3 jobs, and she's not in the home, and the child is there left unattended many a times, right? So with women, they tend to get a little bit more emotional, and then sometimes they'll, when the male is not in the home, they'll seek male attention out of the home somewhere else, and a lot of times you'll see a rise in teen pregnancy. Now this is across all races, all economic backgrounds, everything, right?
Yeah.
But you see, if you're just there's no joyful numbers, no hateful numbers, no angry numbers, no sad numbers. The numbers are the numbers.
It's just
right?
numbers.
Yeah, if you look at the amount of fathers in the black home versus the white home, why are all the shooters white? Why are all the shooters white that are shooting up stuff?
Okay. Continue.
I mean, I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. I was saying, why are all the shooters who shoot multiple people, why are they all white?
Oh, that's what you're talking about, the mass shooting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why? So because I'm like, if it's just because I was reading an article about 26 out of the 27 had issues with the father being not in the home.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
And so why is that prevalent in the white community but not prevalent in the black community?
Dang.
I mean, I think the dynamic is just set up for it to be that way. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, I think that the core problem is the same. I think part of it's like, loneliness and just not, you know, how we raise boys now. It's just how we raise boys are just, it's just kind of like exclusionary. But I think you're right. Like how it affects the white homes is different from the black. I'm trying to like go through this in my mind.
Yeah, I have no clue, right?
Well,
I don't have an answer to this. I was just
Yeah, it's a good
trying,
point.
and like one thing that I
Hmm.
did notice is if you take a girl and a boy and you raise them by a single mother, right? The
Yeah.
the girl turns out better than the boy
Yeah.
statistically,
Uh-huh.
right? And there may be an issue with teen pregnancy with the girl. There may not, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But what is really terrible about uh, a male that is raised by a single parent, right?
Mm.
And the parent's not there, whether it be guy or girl, right? Is males have a propensity for violence and all kinds of just violence, drugs, rape, like all this stuff. Like women don't go out and shoot up Walmarts.
For the most part,
They
yeah.
don't,
hopefully,
right? What's
yeah.
that?
Hopefully. Yes, there's that one girl that like I think shot up like the YouTube like place or whatever. But other than that, no, she's like an outlier. But yeah, you're right.
So the
Hmm.
propensity for violence among males, it's so much more dangerous when you have a child
Mm-hmm.
in a single parent home.
Hmm.
If it's a male than if it's a female, because the male has a propensity, like when a male has pent up frustration and violence,
Mm-hmm.
like like I'm not saying this about Andrew at all, right? But
Yeah.
because Andrew's very very smart. But if you just looked at the pictures, right? Did you see the pictures with him in that terrible shirt and tie and big baggy pants?
Yeah. When like everybody else is like wearing like black and white
Oh yeah, at that
thing.
event,
Yeah, and
old school pimp.
You're like Sesame Street. Like which one of these is not like the other,
Hmm.
right?
That
Hmm.
was I
If
thought
you
it was
take
photoshopped when I first saw it. I'm like, that can't be real. It's like, no, it was
Yeah,
real.
and you take
I'm
that
like, what?
you take that same child and put that same child in a single family home, right? Whether it be guy or girl raising that person.
Yeah.
And with that, like you could tell on his face, he's like, man, this sucks. I can't wait to go to college, right?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
so I'm so much smarter. I'm so much smarter than to be here, right?
okay. This
He's
is
just like,
Yeah.
man,
okay.
I can't wait to get my master's degree and kill it in the workforce,
Yeah, this
right?
is exactly okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because I think that like Andrew's childhood is so like interesting because he it seems like he would have he's people joke he's like was an ex goth or whatever. I really think he was like if he had like I mean white parents, he probably would have been straight up like goth. Like listening to like corn and shit. I feel like he was more tamed because I guess he had Asian parents and like they were really pushing like at school and like all this stuff and like playing
Yeah,
the piano and everything.
academia.
So, but I really do have in my mind like, dang, like because he's such like an abstract thinker, he like
Hmm.
that could be very very good or very very bad. And I think that maybe a lot of people that that kind of like have like a lot of like deep psychological problems that do act out, whether it be like a mass shooting or whether it be whatever else, like they probably like are probably atypical, mentally. I wouldn't say they're insane. Well, they probably are, but I wouldn't say that they are like can't be redeemed. I just think that like something went wrong when they were a child that like what like their specialties, like their strengths were kind of suppressed and their weaknesses were like, more on the forefront. Again, I hate to mention Gary Vee again, but I love when he says, like fuck your weaknesses, but just focus on your strengths and what makes you
Yeah.
great. And
Triple
then
down.
when you find that out, then you can become a better person. But if everybody tells you, oh, you're bad at this, you suck at this, you should be better at this, that really fucks with your mind, and that it makes your self-esteem go down, and it makes you're not as confident in yourself, and that over time can lead to a buildup like a mass shooter. It can do that, or
Right.
maybe in the Black community, it's like because the culture is more like, especially when it comes to males, I guess it's more of like I want to say I never grew up in like the ghetto, so I don't know myself. But tell me, like, what do you think is like Gerald? What do you think that like Black men like kind of when they feel self conscious, like how do they react to that like low self esteem?
Well, I mean, right. I mean, I think it can vary when you're talking about people at any time because everybody's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of the Black influence that it may have in their decision making and such, it generally would resort to, I would say, something more along the lines of violence or aggression. And that's because this whole thing this entire clock has a bunch of cogs fit in at once. These all work together. It's not a one trick pony. So, in addition to that happening, you also have other things that are influencing, said person we're discussing to feel different ways as it relates to, like their decision making and what's important to them, what they need to seek out, and what path they should follow at this point in order to redeem themselves and make them feel like they're whole. And, like a lot of assaults that take place or guys that end up with a violent record to then fit in the bucket of, look, Black guys are violent, a lot of them just have issues that they're unable to deal with, and a lot of them are sort of pressured, like the thing you say about women raising children or single moms, that's very prevalent in the areas that I grew up in. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, grew up in the, inner city, born and raised. And I can't say that I really knew anybody who had a father, you know what I mean? Not like that. Like I don't want to make it out like literally my entire school didn't have a father or something like that, but I just didn't really know people to have fathers like that. You just knew mom comes and pick you up from school. Mom might show up at school at any point. Mom is who's checked in your homework when you go home. Mom is who you love. You don't, it's not like dad is an existence like that. And I didn't have my father, so I
So
never said that. Um,
with you saying that, one thing that comes to mind, right, is
right,
that I feel like if regardless of who you are, where you are, or what your lineage is, if you have a mother and father both in the home and they're both of sound mind, by the time you're probably like 10 years old, they've probably got you into a good situation if they're working together in unison happily to a place where you could be a you could be a homeowner regardless of like. And then like if you there was a study that said if you wait until you're 20 years old to have a child and you get married and you stay married, your chances of success financially like go up by like I think it was like 90%. And then if you have a child, guy or girl, when you're younger, uh, it affects the female worse because unfortunately the females are stuck raising the kids while and I don't know what's going on with the male population that just feels like it's okay not to defend women
Mhm.
and to just run out on your your children.
Do you think a lot of it's financial, along with like the mental part? Like, do you think that a lot of guys
Well,
and I just can't provide, so I'm
I
just
think
gonna
it
go?
I think it might be because there's this huge MGTOW thing that's popping up. Has anybody heard about it?
That sounds familiar. Like,
It's called it's
I haven't.
called it's called men going their own way.
yes, I know that. Yeah.
So there's this MGTOW thing, and it's a bunch of it's almost like the the opposite of feminism. So there's this
Yeah.
group of what I would call feminine men, but they don't realize they're feminine,
Yeah, it's
right?
Okay.
they're called yeah, but what the fuck
Right?
are they called? Yeah.
And they don't realize they're feminine, right?
Gerald's like, okay. I
Right?
Okay.
actually I this is actually a thing, I'm telling you.
And well, I probably shouldn't say feminine men because I'm gonna get blasted for saying that.
Just
right?
say like I would say weak, but like maybe just
There's
don't know.
this group of men, right? I'll just call them a group of men
yeah,
Right?
let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
who are irritated that they have to take a woman out and spend money on her and take her out on a date in order to get laid.
Yeah.
Like or that they have to commit to a relationship in order to in order for a woman to give them their body, right? Because like some women want to commit to a relationship. Some women are like, okay, if I'm going to give you access to my body, then you're going to have to give me access to your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you like access to you emotionally, right?
Right.
That tends to
And
happen.
then there's some women are just like, hey, whatever's clever, I just want to do my thing or whatever, right?
Yeah. I like the phrases.
What do you mean?
No, I mean, I felt like those are phrases you were, maybe possibly coining there when you were saying,
Yeah.
or whatever you rhymed it. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Probably
I
looked too deep into it.
Yeah, no, I got what you're saying. So so like there's this new group of men that is cropping up that wants no expectation, right? They just want to utilize women as basically concubines and sex slaves, right?
Yeah.
And not even as much as like, and they're angry and pissed off that they have to like take a girl to a movie or something.
Yeah.
And take a girl out on a date.
Okay. I'm trying to
So there's a group of guys saying that
Yeah. It's a huge prevalent movement
And
on
this
the
they
internet.
have a hashtag.
What? It's MGTOW. It's called MGTOW. Men going their own way. Right?
Men going there.
Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
mainly born.
The only reason I know about this is that a guy that I sponsored brought this to me, right? And I was like, "You're gonna drop that crap, or are you gonna find a new sponsor?"
Interesting. It's like
I was like, you're gonna drop that, or you're gonna find a new sponsor because like, who do you think you are? Like.
So this, for my knowledge, because I know a lot about this too. It's basically this movement kind of was born on the internet for the most part. It's like, and it is part of a response to like third wave feminism. Like a lot of females are so like, it's like a weird like, they want guys to be guys, but and do the typical guy stuff, holding doors and all that stuff. But then some girls don't want that, and they get offended when guys do that. So I can like, I'm telling you,
it's a bit annoying. Yeah.
So I can see why guys are like, okay, fuck this shit. I don't want to deal with any of this like emotional bullshit that girls are dealing with right now. I'm gonna going my own way, and then when I'm gonna fuck, and that's it. So I know that this is actually a thing. Mainly in parts of like Reddit and like even more extreme like 4chan. That's when these things really get, and even Twitter and YouTube and stuff. But I'm trying to find.
So is 4chan an app or is that?
It's a website. Well, it's an app too, but it's a website.
Okay, I want to get into 4chan because everybody keeps talking about 4chan, right?
You want to get into 4chan? Okay, let's do it.
No,
I know nothing about 4chan.
Really?
I know nothing about 4chan either, right?
Really?
But that's where they say the most evil human beings, right?
Okay.
Fight,
Yeah.
fight, and argue, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, where's the argument happening? Can I join? Right? I just want to see liver shots blown. At least be a spectator.
Damn, I wish I could.
I hear you.
Man,
Hey, you're not with that at all.
I wish I could screen share.
Probably not, but I mean,
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Each his own. You know what I mean? I'm not judging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, yeah.
I don't have time for it just because I got so much going on with Gang Trailer and this, that, and third. Like,
Mm-hmm.
But-
Yeah. So
Saw the
basically,
truck.
yeah, the truck's pretty lit. I can't wait. You better get.
tomorrow it happens.
Yay! Oh, I cannot wait. Man, Ohio's just creeping
Wow.
up day by day. Damn. Okay, so this is what so MGTOW and incels. That's another word. Do you guys know what an incel is?
So what is that?
An insole?
Incel.
Oh, incel. An incel.
What?
Yeah.
What's an incel?
Okay, so
I
let me
heard
give
the
you.
word, but-
Is this another 4chaner?
No, it relates to MGTOW actually. So I'll give you an example of a person that you probably know. So do you remember like years ago, the son of the director of the Hunger Games films, his name was like Elliot something. Let me look up his name. Elliot Roger. So this like young guy, I think he was like in his 20s. He was, the son of, this popular, like director / producer in Hollywood. And he, also is one of these guys that like felt like I can't get a girl. And he's like pretty attractive too, but like it's like I can't get a girl, and I'm like, I'm kind of pissed off at these guys that can, and like, fuck these like couples and all this shit. And he ended up I think running a lot of people over. Like he was like in this like area, and he just like ran them all over and just killed them. I think. Let me make sure. No, never mind. I think it was a shooting. It was like both a shooting and like kind of like a weird thing. Yeah. So you guys don't know about this? Yeah, this is like a whole thing. So
No.
yeah. So
No.
I'm legit.
I'm actually glad I don't know about this.
Yeah. Maybe I go into like the deeper parts of the internet too much, but yeah. So this guy, it's like the more extreme case of like the MGTOW people. But it's kind of like that. It's like he felt like, and he was like, I think he's like white too, like white maybe mixed with something else. But yeah, he felt like, damn, I can't. I feel like I'm like he like felt envious, and like he felt like he wasn't useful, so he just killed a bunch of people. It was like a whole thing. So yeah, that is again it's extreme, and but that mentality. That's why I'm convinced that a lot of the reason why guys feel this way is because they're just either sexually repressed, or they just have this low self-esteem that they just haven't reconciled within themselves. And I just hate that like mental health it's getting better, but the stigma on mental health is so like extreme still, or still negative, not just in America but a lot of places. Like guys, I'm into like East Asian culture, and actually Japan and South Korea have like the highest race like suicide rates, and that's guys and girls, not like guys do it.
I know this sounds
You guys don't need to run in a minute too here. By the way, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
I know this sounds
like 5 minutes.
I know this sounds terrible, right?
Go for it.
But with it seems like with Americans, suicide is to relieve pain. Like people just don't want to be in pain anymore.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like from the research that I've done about the Japanese, like the Japanese are big on honor.
Yeah.
And like when you've dishonored your lineage, one way to regain that honor is to end it yourself.
Yes.
And I see although I know that it's a bad thing to do that, I at least can see how kind of twisted honorable that is, in a twisted way, right?
Yeah.
To basically
Yeah.
like you want to honor your family, and that's like the way
Yeah.
to regain the honor of your family, right? I think it's according to the studies that it's less and less prevalent as far as the honor goes, because they don't have the old school traditional values
Yeah.
in Japan I mean, they still do to a certain degree, but
It's
it's
less and
not to the point.
less.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to
It's
the point where the samurai are
yeah, not
running.
like that anymore. But you're right. That is part of it. It's more of like a selfless act rather than in Western culture. It's more of a selfish act. Yeah, you can say.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say also too, because I've been watching a lot of there's one guy's channel on YouTube called The Black Experience where he
Mm.
goes to Japan and he interviews people that are, black people that live in Japan and the surrounding areas. And one of the things that I find is that they are very lacking in the realm of like social interaction. Nobody talks to each other, nobody
Yeah.
says anything, and it's weird to
Yeah.
do that. So I think that working in correlation with the fact that they have the honor that, Fred mentions, or they have these sort of oppressing thoughts that make them want to go to any length to try to, what I mean, make sure that they can hold themselves in a certain regard. I think those two things combined together sort of cause the suicide, the wanting to give up or feeling like there's no other way, as I feel it happens with I think each nationality kind of maybe has their own twist or version of why that happens
Yeah.
because there's
I've definitely
oppressive
dealt with it
nature.
too. I definitely dealt with suicidal thoughts for sure. Like, I'm just
Mhm.
By chance, is this guy an engineer and he's a young guy?
the Elliot Rogers guy that
No, no, the guy that Gerald is talking about, the Black Experience or whatever.
oh, the YouTuber. Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, the Black Experience guy. Do you know what
No, I don't think he lives I think he's a teacher in Japan. He's there with a visa
mm,
and he just
Okay,
sort of vlogs his
younger
experience
guy,
there.
maybe smaller.
Young, I think, yeah, younger black guy. I mean, he might be African. I think he kind of has a little bit of a
an accent kind of?
accent.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
I've
know.
seen that guy.
You might have seen him if you YouTube the Black Experience though, it'll pop up. He has millions of views, so it's definitely something you'll notice. And
Sounds
there's
familiar.
also another guy that goes. He speaks like 13 different languages, and he travels to different countries
Oh.
and starts to speak to them in their language, and like shopping markets and things, international markets. And he does that to sort of break the barrier that they have, like Japan's or Japanese people, I'm sorry, view black people a certain way. Like they'll come up to you, want to touch
Mm.
your hair or touch your skin apparently,
Yeah.
and he does this to build rapport with them. When they see him talk in their language,
Hmm.
he talks to them and asks them why they feel the way they feel about black people, and a lot of them said because they there's a barrier when somebody doesn't speak your language at all, not even the same letters. Like it's like the
Yeah.
idea of trying to communicate with somebody who literally you couldn't communicate with. They don't care to want to figure it out. It's not even no necessarily
Well,
racism
we,
as
well, we see
outside.
that too. We see that too. I think with Andrew Yang when I talk to the truckers, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I was talking to this guy Steven who was going to. Were you out there with Steven? He had bald head, maybe beard, young guy, maybe
Who,
30.
me or Jero?
You when you went to
No,
ten
yeah.
four.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh,
By the way,
his name was
I'll
Steven.
have to go soon, so hopefully we can wrap it up soon. But I
Oh,
did
okay.
not see Steven, no. I don't think so.
Okay, so basically he was saying that, and I've noticed this too. When you talk to truckers, like it's people. It seems as if people kind of gravitate to people that are like them in
Yeah.
social and economic, and
Yeah.
that look like them. Like
Yeah.
when I said there's a Democrat that I actually like, right? To like three truckers. One said, "Well, he's not from here," right? And I'm like, okay, like to run for president, you have to,
You have to prove you're a citizen.
yeah, You have to prove you're a citizen and born in the United States. Okay, then the other one says, well, he's going to do what's best for his people, and I'm like, yes, correct. The American people. That's the people. Then the other one says, oh, well, the other one says, well, his parents aren't from here. And I'm like, okay, what if I told you my parents aren't from here? They're like, well, that's different. And I'm like, okay, let me just humor me, pretend you don't know it all, and just let me think logically with you and give you a scenario. So he's 44, I'm 43. My parents not from here, his parents not from here. I'm born in the United States, he's born in the United States. Like, what's the difference other than the fact that, like, he looks like, or I look like you, and he to you doesn't, and if you knew him, trust me, you would vote for him. And then you get like
that, like, defeat down.
Yeah, that like total defeat where they're like, all right, I'll just go back to my salad.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's part of that's probably is part of it. I do know the language barrier is a legit thing that I hear all the time as well, but the part of it is like a physical thing too, and like again what you see in the media and like all this other things. Boy, but yeah. So listen. I think it was a really cool conversation, and I'm just glad that we guys had to talk all in one place. I love you guys both dearly, and there's a lot of good.
Love you too, Alyssa.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of good
you're
things.
My man, Yang Gang.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit you up in a couple days, Gerald.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm coming to Virginia.
Yep, you know where to find me.
I'm coming.
Oh, you're gonna like watch.
I'm coming to Virginia, so if I have to pick up in Baltimore to come back into Ohio for the debate, I'll hit you up.
We can link up, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
later.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching. See you guys.
All right, later.
All right, see you later.
Gang, gang.
Woo!
Yeah, Yang Gang.